for Your Appraisal District Can Help or Hurt Your Families. This is going to be led by Celeste Cox, who is the Executive Director of the North Collin County Habitat for Humanity. And she really has extensive expertise in working with local government to maximize the benefits for her affiliates. So we're really lucky to have her. If for some reason you are having trouble hearing, then you should probably go ahead and hang up and try to dial in on your landline. That's usually the best way to be able to hear it. So is everything going okay? I am having some intermittent internet issues, so hopefully that doesn't disconnect the entire thing just because I'm having some problems on my end. Is everything look okay on your end, Jack?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
All right. Well, then I will turn it over. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say the first page, the training call for appraisal districts. Yeah.
All right. Well, in that case, I will turn it over to Celeste. And thank you very much for being here and your willingness to share what you know, Celeste.
And did somebody else come on?
I think so. I've heard a couple of dings, and but maybe people are coming on and off. So hopefully they're not having some issues. I'll keep checking my email in case someone wants to email if they have some problems. So
okay. So we'll get started. First of all, I want to go over the code as it applies to habitat. This is kind of how I got started when this changed several years ago. House Bill 133, and habitat was pretty instrumental in getting this changed. And hold on, my screen just went away. Can y'all still see the screen?
Yeah, I can, yes.
Okay, good. So the Section 3 of House Bill 133 reads as it is up on the screen: in appraising real property that was previously owned by an organization that received an exemption, which is habitat, and that was sold to a low-income individual, which is our families, that meets the eligibility standards, that it says that the property, the chief appraiser, shall take it, and it says shall, and this is pretty important for you to know. This shall makes them that they need to do this. So when you go meet with your chief appraisers, just walk in with this and highlight the shall. It says they shall take into consideration, into account the extent to which that use and limitation and any resale restrictions or conditions applicable to the property established by the organization reduce the market value of the property. So what it's saying is, our habitat homes, the value of those properties, when they resell it on the open market, because there's so many different liens and deeds and different things, sometimes we have up to 5 different things if you're working with Bootstrap, if you're working with CDBG or Federal Home Loan Bank, and all of those have restrictions on resale that has to stay in low-income housing. So they can't realistically resell it for the full market value as if it was just a regular mortgage. And so that's kind of the conversation I had with my appraisal district. And each section I go through, I want to stop, and if you have any questions as that section, I'll go ahead and answer them now. So any questions about the House bill and what it says?
And I don't see any on the chat feature as well. There is a chat feature on your screen. For some reason it keeps repeating a post I've added about the phone number to dial in. So I don't know why it's doing that. That's not me. But if you have a question, you can ask it when Celeste pauses, or type it in while you think of it right there.
The next thing I want to share is back in 2009, right after this House bill was approved, I went to our appraiser. Our appraiser's name is Bo Dafin, and his assistant is Connie Carpenter. And he said, if you can just put into a letter how you finance your habitat houses, it'll help us understand more how we can appraise them. So this is kind of the letter, how it says, and it's pretty much how any habitat home works. You know, the first lien, the dissipating lien. And what they didn't understand is our appraisals were coming in at 90, but that wasn't really the cost that we were putting into the house, and it wasn't what they were mortgaging. So even though it appeared to them that they were getting a $90,000 mortgage, I really explained to them this dissipating lien, that it's not something that they're paying on, it's dissipating. So they really can't turn around and get the value out of that. It's just forgiven as they're paying on the first. So really having a conversation with the appraisal district and explaining that dissipating lien helped a whole lot. And so down here in this last paragraph, it says the taxable value on the home should be based on the repayable note of the mortgage. And the only reason we put that is so that, they won't make a big windfall profit. What was happening is our property taxes, as you can see in this, property taxes were $161 and our principal payment was $250. So they kept creeping up so much that they were almost equal to what they were paying in principal. And, I kind of told them, I said, you don't want to kick your affordable housing people out of houses just because they can't pay the property tax. And so, when we had that conversation with them, they kind of understood if you send this letter and explain the detail of how it works. So I'll stop there and answer any questions on how we put the letter together and explained it to them.
Jack, are you able to see those letters?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, no, not a problem.
And I can, Amy has the letter too. She can send it out to you if you want. And I'll go back to the other one.
Well, when you record this, or however you're going to do it, will we see this PowerPoint, Amy?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, so the third thing, after I showed them the house bill, I gave them the letter, then they came back to me and said, oh, well, here's how we can do it. The principles of appraisal will apply in this situation, and the Collin County, which is statewide, are based on the principles of appraisal, which is one of their standards for appraising. All homes in the county, so we have 2 Habitat affiliates in our county, so theirs also benefited from this. They put them all in neighborhood, and they call it a Habitat neighborhood. And that's how they appraise our Habitat homes. And the principles of appraisal are bulleted here. A neighborhood can be created with similar properties. Habitat homes all have the same financing or some variation of same. They're built by volunteers, so they can't compare them with builder-built homes. And some of them have deed restrictions on repayment, resale, and restrictions on income to qualify. So for those 4 bullets, they can put all the Habitat homes in a neighborhood and appraise them differently because they're different.
Okay. I have a blank screen now, so I didn't see those 4 bullet points.
What?
All right. I really apologize. We aren't having...
Well, okay, I went back to the letter.
Can you see it now?
Oh, there. Yeah, they are. Yeah, okay.
So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
This has to be what I click on. So,
Mm-hmm.
so there they are, and that's what our appraisal district has done is they've put every Habitat home since inception, and they did go back retroactively and took all the ones we had previously built too and put every single one of them in a Habitat neighborhood. Anytime we close, and pretty much in the state, anytime you close on a home, you'll get a sheet from the appraisal district that says, please tell us the value. And so each time they do that, I say repayable note and dissipating lien. And so I always make sure I break that up in that letter I send back to them so that they're putting they're applying the principles of appraisal and only using the repayable portion of the mortgage to tax our Habitat homeowners. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's really pretty simple once you know how to talk to them and know what to give them to make them understand.
Okay.
And we have a great relationship with our appraisal district. We have one person that kind of handles all of them, and so anytime one comes in, she'll make sure it gets coded correctly. It's a coding system that they have to get into that neighborhood, and then she actually watches all of our appraisals to make sure they're not going up over the cap or anything like that. So we have an open conversation and a really good, assistant in the appraisal district that kind of handles, she says, her account. So having that contact in your appraisal district is really, really important.
Okay.
And that's really all I have. If you can do those three things, if you can explain the House bill, if you can give them a letter explaining how you finance your homes and explain to them that they can put it in a neighborhood under the principles of appraisal, you could probably do the same thing that we've done.
Just explain the neighborhood concept. So you got you got homes all over the place. So they just take those homes and it's a fictitious neighborhood. Is that?
It's called the Habitat neighborhood. It doesn't matter where they are because we build in half of the county, so they're in many, many different cities. But
okay.
For taxing purposes, they're a habitat neighborhood.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a physical neighborhood. They're just
good. That's what okay. Oh, that's okay. Terrific.
Appraisal classification code.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the biblical neighbor of they're in anywhere, anybody's your neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, location.
Yeah, homestead exemption. You can get that classification put on your thing, HE. Well, all of ours have HN, which is habitat neighborhood. So it's a coding system that they're using to get that one in a different tax structure than any of the other properties that are in their system.
Okay. So we have to find that right person in the appraisal district.
Yeah, and all I did was just go in there and say, I really need to talk to somebody, and they assigned me her, and I've had her ever since. I've had her for 12 years now. So.
Oh, good for you. Huh.
Yeah. But they're usually pretty, if you explain to them, because what was happening was we had a house that was in the historic district of McKinney, and it kept going up in appraised value because, of course, the historic properties were, and it was near downtown commercial. And so we sold it to the family at $50,000, and it was already at $130,000 tax appraised value, and it just kept going up and up. And they're like, "We're going to have to move out. We can't afford the taxes anymore." And I said, "This can't happen. You can't kick this family out of their home just because you keep upping the appraised value, because they can't resell it because it has, CDBG and some other restrictions on it, and they had to be a low-income family to even get in that house." So that's when you get their heartstrings, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we can't do that. This is not the purpose of the appraisal district." So.
Well, this is all good stuff to know. I think I said at the last board meeting, it hadn't really been an issue with our taxes until just this last year or so, that they're really just starting to skyrocket.
Yeah, and it depends on where you are. It'll start going up, and that's what was happening with us. It just, in certain areas, they just started going out of control, and we had to do something.
Property tax relief is going to be a big legislative item in this session, so we'll be monitoring that closely. Jack, what do you think? How is your relationship with the appraisal district? Do you think that this is something that can work in your area?
Well, I think it can. I personally don't have a relationship there, but I know one of our board members did a lot of work with them, and I think was even on the board there. So, when I get it, I'm going to make copies of this thing and sit down with John and see if we can find the right person to go talk to.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, I've been chatting with Judy online, and I appreciate her being there as well. She says she doesn't have any questions, but very good info. So, Jack,
excellent.
do you have any questions? Any other questions?
No, not at this point. I mean, I just need to kind of, sit down and read that letter and just kind of get a better understanding, which I think, I have a good understanding now, and then just follow up on it so we can help our people. That's for sure.
And keep in mind that letter was written before we were doing Bootstrap or CDBG, so it was very simple, basic. I didn't have any of the other financing mechanisms in there. And if I wrote it today, it would look probably a whole lot different. It kept it pretty simple so they could understand it. So I don't know if adding all those other things in there would help either.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And Celeste, the title of our webinar is "Can Help or Hurt Your Affiliate." Do you have any, I guess just kind of how has this helped your affiliate? I mean, clearly it's helped your partner families, but just having relationships with the city, what would you say has been the benefit for you? And then we'll close out.
Well, of course, the benefit is keeping our homeowners in their homes and keeping their payments low and their escrows manageable so that the escrow account payment doesn't go over their principal payment, because we have to do the analysis every year, and every year that we up their monthly payments, it's more of a hardship on them, and we want to keep them in their homes because we're the mortgage company and we want them to continue to be able to pay on the mortgage. So that's how it's helped. Another way it kind of started hurting us was when, and it's not related to the homeowners, but when the state law was passed that exemptions were, 3 to 5 years for land that you held. Well, we had such a good relationship because of this with our appraisal district that we didn't pay taxes indefinitely. So as long as we had land, they wouldn't tax us on it. And so once a legislative item was passed that said you have to do this, it kind of hurt us because now we're on a time frame, whereas before when we had such a great relationship, they didn't ever tax us. So it can help, it can hurt you depending on what legislation goes into place that kind of mandates what they can and can't do. But if you can find the wording in the legislation that'll say they shall do this, because before it said they can, and it wasn't strong enough for them for somebody to make them do it. And once it got changed to shall, then they pretty much had to do it.
Right. Well, that's one of our legislative agendas for this session as well, to increase the property tax exemption for affiliates. So if there are no other questions, pause for just a second. I want to thank Celeste and those of you who are going to listen to this online in the future. Be sure to check out our calendar page for some other upcoming Lunch and Learns. Our Executive Director's Retreat and Advocacy Day is also coming up on February 2nd. So check out our calendar and sign up for future webinars, and I will be sending the link for this recording and the questions that, or the background information that Celeste has sent probably in the next, by tomorrow morning. It takes a little while to process the recording. So I appreciate both of you being here. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.